All right, welcome back and thank you for staying with us. So tonight we continue with our series on co-parenting and what boundaries are important in case you're in this kind of an agreement. And once again, I'm joined by Jane Ruben. She is a parental empowerment facilitator. Thank you so much, Jane, for creating time once again.
Yeah, thank you, Serfine, for having me here.
All right.
Yes.
So last week we had a very insightful conversation based on the feedback I've gotten. And just to summarize it all, we agreed that in this kind of a scenario, the interest of the child needs to come before
First.
your selfish interests as parents to this child.
Yes.
That was the bottom line. I want us to pick up from there.
Yes.
And there was a concern that came up that I wanted us to start by discussing.
Yes.
In a scenario where you're two parents, but one parent seems to be insisting that it is their way or the highway. This parent, in every major decision that pertains to the child, they always prefer their way. They feel like they know better. How do you co-parent with such a person?
Thank you so much, Serfine. That's a narcissistic parent, you know, a parent who will always have some inflated sense of importance, and they will want to see like their children will not need to be, maybe they will not want to co-parent with you. You know, those people who have an elevated sense of importance, this, you know, they have their ego very high and they cannot even cooperate. It becomes very, very difficult to parent with that kind of a person. Now, when such happens, then you probably need to understand that if there was a court case, then you need to form the legal processes. You know, like go through the legal processes and follow through. Those people are usually very difficult to deal with, and sometimes you will need the intervention of a court to probably give you something called a GAL, G-A-L, guardian ad litem. It's a legal term to mean a guardian who is appointed by the court to be able to follow the interest of the child. Because the two put together, the parent and the narcissist, or the co-parent who is a narcissist, it can't work. Then you may need someone outside, you know, the two of you. A neutral person, actually, yes. A neutral person, that's actually the word. A neutral person that is usually appointed by the court to guard the interest of the child or the children.
Before you give us more tips on how to co-parent with a narcissist, what are some of the challenges that, you know, having such a person in an agreement to co-parent presents, especially for the upbringing of a child?
Of course, there's a lot of competition. This person will want to compete with you, not knowing that you're competing against your own child, clearly. So you're sort of, you want the child or the children to know that maybe you're the best parent, your mom or your dad is not the appropriate parent for you, not forgetting that anything that should be done, the battle here is not between the two of you, it's actually about the children. So if there would be anything that you need to be talking about here, it is the child or the children. And so one of the challenges when you're cooperating with co-parenting that kind of a person is that there will be a lot of competition. They'll want to sort of outdo you. You know that if it is their turn to take their children, they'll want to take them to very expensive malls, go do dinners.
To prove a point.
Exactly. And not knowing that, I mean, that is his or her form of parenting. The other person is also his or her own way of parenting. And one of the boundaries, if you can remember what we said last week, was that you need to parent your way, you know, like the best way you know how. So if you're a parent who probably is not very loaded in terms of money, and you can't take those children to, you know, big hotels and bigger places, do what you're able to do.
But how do you make the child understand? I'm trying to look at this young mind. You know, in ordinary circumstances, if the parents are together, they usually come up with a way of parenting their child, that they agree that this is how we are going to discipline our child. This is what we are going to be giving our children as gifts. This is the much we can spend on their special days. But if you're telling me that when you're co-parenting, you parent your way, how you decide, which may be different from what the other person is doing. How do you do that without confusing this child?
I guess it should start from the word go. Like the children would be able to be made aware that, you know, this is what is happening. We're probably going through a divorce, or we are going through a rough patch, and you might probably be ending up with your dad or with your mom, and at some point, just making the children aware. You remember the open communication you talked about the other time, Let the children also be in the picture, such that if they are told that that this is where you will be this weekend, they'll be okay with it. You know, put them together and have a conversation with them. And even as you do that, it would also be important to also agree with the other parent. As much as you're saying you can't communicate, we say that your communication should also be even business-like. In a way, don't make demands like request. Would we? Can we? May I? You know, that kind of a thing, so that it doesn't appear like you're demanding for your child. So you could probably make that kind of a business communication, you know. Let it appear like it is a business thing that you're contracting with, and the business is the child.
It's a professional parenting relationship, for lack of a better term.
Of course, yes.
All right. So a lot has really, you know, come up in terms of feedback, and you know, one thing that became sort of like the elephant in the room is when your partner or your spouse has moved on. Both of you are in different relationships, or one is single, depending on how you want to look at it, and you're co-parenting. So this presents a lot of challenges, especially when the parents of this child are supposed to be spending time together in what they call the interest of the child. They're supposed to be meeting as either one is dropping or picking the child. They're supposed to be attending the special days of this particular child in school, maybe graduation. I mean, what do they say? What do they talk about? And how, I mean, how do we even exist in such kind of, I mean.
I know it's a tricky situation, but if done the right way, you can actually just strike a conversation around the child, majorly about the child. You don't need to get into someone's personal life, like, how did you spend your day? You seem to be having a flu. Have you seen the doctor? Stick the discussion to the child or the children, and not the other person.
You don't supposed to check on your, you know, co-parent. Let me call that person.
We are not friends. We are not friends. This is just a relationship that has brought us together for the interest of the child. You know, you remember that when these people have parted ways, then it means they are not friends, are they? They are not. So then that means they have some sort of a sour relationship. So the relationship here is just for the child. So anything to do with whether you have a cold or you don't have, it should not be my business.
But what if you've let bygones be bygones, you've forgiven, and you've agreed that on mutual interest, this is our child, we have to raise this child together. So this means whatever negative energy I may have against that person is gone. I mean, I mean, when you meet, what do you discuss? When you have to take this child to maybe out of town, maybe that is where the co-parent is. What do you tell your current spouse? I mean, these are the complexities that come with
I agree with you, Serfine. But then there are limits, you know. You have to ensure that your other partner knows about what you're doing, and probably let him or her accompany you when you're delivering the child or when you're dropping the child to the other person. Like, let the business between you and your ex be just the child, and that's it. Because then if you start bringing in things, that's when there'll be statements like, it was nice when it lasted, and blah blah, and this kind of things. And it's bound to sow some emotions as well, you know. And we want the discussion to stick at the child only. So when you're dropping the child, drop the child, talk about, I'll pick the child at whatever time it is that we'll agree, and that's it. So this thing of mutuality and everything else should actually cease, unless you want to revive the relationship.
How is that co-parenting? You know, I mean, co-parenting, some feel is, you know, at some point the child has to benefit from both the parents. They have to spend time with this child together. And the child has to enjoy that experience of having both his or her parents together in that moment. You are advising against that.
No, I am not saying that these two should not sit together. For the interest of the child, it is very fine. But also a disclaimer: if you're seeing someone, or if you're married, or if, you know, if you have moved on, that it might sour some relationship. So what about then bringing in the other person, so that then it seems clean that between me and the mother of this child or the father of this child, we have nothing except the child. But I would advise that we do parallel parenting. What is parallel parenting? If this child has to be taken out for whatever reason, a birthday, a special day, let the father do it, let the mother also do it. So then there are no these are the issues of, you know, we sat together. What are you even discussing about? Like, if you were to look at this relationship as a business-like kind of a relationship, if the business is not the child, then I wonder what you'll be talking about. Because if business partners sit together to talk about business, so we are sitting together with this person to talk about the child. If it's not about the child, please Let's forget it.
All right. What are some of the I know you've touched on some, but what are some of the things that one ought to do to create that acceptance and comfort between, say, a baby mama and the current, partner, or a baby daddy and the current partner? What is it that is fundamental?
Of course, this calls for even the person to be proactive, whoever it is in the biological parent of this child. If there is another step, or the stepmother or the stepfather, it calls for him to also be proactive, for her to also be proactive. Like if there are those instances where the child is being met by the biological father or the mother, the person should also probably be there and play neutral, like even start becoming like sort of friends. Talk, discuss, let them bring, maybe if it's a girl, bring some presents here and there, this kind of a thing. So what you're doing is that you're trying to create a rapport, so that if this child will finally come to live with you, the two of you, then you will have already created a relationship with them, and also a rapport. It will have existed.
Yeah. Yes. There are some who say, this co-parenting, where did it come from? We never used to have this. It's a foreign culture.
Yes.
I mean, what used to happen back in the days?
Yeah, you see now, the divorces, the separation. Like you stay with one person 1 year, you're like, it's not you that I wanted, and so it will end up. There's also a new name in the market. There's a deadbeat dad, baby mama, and a daddy, baby daddy, and all those kind of stuff. It never used to be there. I think when you called it quits, then it was quits. Like, let me bring up my children alone, and that's it. If you will ever meet at some point in your life, it is okay. If you never ever come to meet, then that will be fine. So it's a new thing that I think also is a good thing to do, because then the child needs the two of you in their lives. Yes.
So it's a step in the right direction.
Yes,
though
and
it comes with a lot of consequences.
Yes.
There's one of our viewers who just said, why can't one parent just raise the child until they are of age to make independent decisions?
That would probably be fine if they're able to, but then the child needs the two parent, the well-being of a child. If you look at them psychologically, they need both the mother and the father, so they need somehow strike a balance for them to be able to grow up with the two parents. But if they're able to, because there are also those parents who will refuse completely, I do not want the dad in their life, I do not want their mom in their life, and then after they're 18, they go looking for their parents. But a disclaimer, please don't badmouth about the other parent to a child, because when they grow up, then they will make their decisions. They might not even want to see you ever. They'll want to see the person that you told them against, and that is what they will want to work with.
It is their right to know about their other parent, regardless of what happened between the two of you. It's a conversation that unfortunately we can't complete in one sitting, but you have really helped a lot of people. You have no idea, just based on the feedback that we got from last week. And I believe also the conversation is going to continue online concerning this. We have gotten to the end of this. And I'd just like you to talk to society in this time when there is a surge in divorce and separation. We are talking about co-parenting. We shouldn't. We should actually be talking about how to parent better. Talk to us about how to just rethink and rework how we look at the institution of family and the institution of marriage as your parting shot.
All right. So thank you. So maybe looking at parenting, of course, a child needs both the mother and the parent, but there are situations that it is not workable. Maybe there are situations where maybe there is gender-based violence, there is physical violence, there is sexual violence, there is financial violence, all those kind of violences, and then it becomes unbearable for someone to stay in that marriage. However, if people are able to work upon their differences, that is the best for the child to be brought up, in a family unit. In an event then that parents have to part ways, let us look at a way that is amicable for both the children and all of us as parents. And when it comes to having to part and co-parent, remove resentment, remove anger, remove emotional baggage, and parent this child the best way you know how. Yes.
Thank you so much, Jane Ruben, a parental empowerment facilitator. Thank you for creating time for us just to talk about this issue of co-parenting. Of course, bottom line remains, you have to know how to differentiate between selfish interest and the welfare of the child. That's the best way to put a cap on it. Thank you so much for catching Sunday Express tonight. John Jacob Kiria could not join join us, but hopefully on Wednesday and Sunday he will. So do stay for that and much more. But tomorrow, remember, we are covering for you live the event where the country's third president, Mwai Kibaki's body is going to lie in state in Parliament beginning tomorrow till Wednesday. So keep it KBC Channel 1. My name is Serfine Achieng. Our sign language interpreter has been Anne Wangeshi. Have a good night and God bless.